Well, I tell you one thing, I've been bloody patient waiting for something to talk about today. Celtic are finally in motion this transfer deadline day. We have been linked with a signing. Brendan Rodgers has been spotted in London. It's all starting to make sense as to why. Stay with me. It looks as though we have our first signing of the January transfer window with around 5 hours to go, which is nice. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. I was anticipating a potentially busy January transfer deadline day. That hasn't happened. It is now 10 past 5 as I record this video. It's been a very quiet day up until now. Hopefully that means some chaos is about to start making its way to the social feeds over the next few hours. The ball is rolling. It's been a disappointing end to the window. There is no denying that. We'll talk about that at the end. We should probably talk about the news first. So we have news from Anthony Joseph and Sky Sports that Celtic have made a late loan offer for Crystal Palace player Jeffrey SCHLUPP, of course, someone who we were linked with back in the summer transfer window. It didn't happen then. It looks as though it's about to happen now. This is off the back of Brendan Rodgers being spotted on a flight to London around 2 o'clock this afternoon. It's all making sense. Crystal Palace, London club. Jeffrey SCHLUPP seems to be the player that he went down there for. There was speculation that it could have been a striker from a London side. Danny Ings' name was doing the rounds. There was speculation that maybe a foreign player had made the journey to London to meet them halfway. It looks as though it was for Jeffrey SCHLUPP, which I feel like is going to be met with some pessimism and dissatisfaction. But I think this is a good signing for Celtic, to be quite honest, particularly between now and the end of the season. This is good quality to bring in. Someone who's been a Premier League constant for the last decade, basically. A good player, someone who will do a job and improve this squad, and ultimately it's what we had to do on deadline day. I don't think it's been an ideal way that we've handled the end of this window, and I will talk about that in a moment, but Celtic have made their loan bid for Jeffrey SCHLUPP. It looks as though he will be coming in, and you would assume that would be to be the challenge of Greg Taylor's position on left back. Now, I know Jeffrey SCHLUPP can play further up the field and has played recently more as a winger, if anything, in the last few years of his career, but he did come up through the system as a left back. He was a left back at Leicester City, progressed up the park gradually to become a left winger, has been used as a forward midfielder and defender. I think that this is the situation that we find ourselves in now to bring in left back cover till Kieran Tierney arrives in the summer. I think it's sufficient, more than sufficient. In fact, I think this is probably one of the best left back options you could get. Certainly, I think more offensively talented than defensively talented, but still good enough. I'm pretty happy with this. It's part one of, I think there was 2 key parts we had to sign today in this window. It was a left back and a striker, and this is obviously the left back. So Sky Sports are of the understanding that Celtic and Crystal Palace are close to agreeing a deal between the clubs. He is available for sale in this transfer window according to Sky, but it seems to be a loan move that Celtic have submitted just now. We need to wait for the finer details to see if there's any obligation or option to buy included with this. I've always thought he's a decent player. I said that in the summer when we were linked with him. I think he's a good player. So I'm pretty alright with this. I'm pretty happy with this. And if you're not so happy about it, go and look at him a bit. I know he's been out in the cold the last wee while at Crystal Palace. He's not been involved so much since Ollie Glasner has come in, but he's going to be more than fine for us. I know he's getting on a little bit older. Kieran Tierney arrives in the summer, lads. This is a good option between now and then. I mean, I say he's been out in the cold. He's still appeared 12 times for Crystal Palace in the Premier League alone this season in the 24-25 campaign. So it's not like he's going to come in lacking that match sharpness or match fitness, not playing football between August and where we are now. He's still been involved. He's played in the League Cup. He's played in the FA Cup. He's played in all competitions for Crystal Palace. He's had a healthy career at Crystal Palace now. I mean, you go right back to 2016 and he's been a constant. He's been a mainstay in that side. Players operating at that level on paper should be good enough to come in here. Now I know that that's never been the case in the past with some players that have came for the Premier League. They've made a total tit of themselves in Scotland. I think that he'll be good. As you can see, plays everywhere, absolutely everywhere. I hope it's not a 2-in-1, as if they're ticking off both a striker and a left back in one here. It's going to be particularly over on that left hand side he'll be used, and should be predominantly used for Celtic. But it's big news coming out. I think that one should be tied up by the deadline today. Hopefully we'll see him in a Celtic shirt by tonight. but it's big news. It's came out around dinner time this evening. I don't want to keep you here too long in this video because things will change rapidly. We will probably hear about another couple of stories between now and the deadline. Well, I'm crossing my fingers that we do. A lot of people not too happy with the way that I treated the end of this window and my last Celtic transfer talk, and I understand that. I think I was a little bit too calm and too happy about things, and maybe too happy about Jota returning. We have left ourselves in a pretty vulnerable position in terms of squad depth heading into deadline day. The Celtic board have shortchanged Brendan Rodgers. He's been very open about that as well, and maybe hearing that coming straight from Brendan Rodgers has, actually not maybe, it certainly has swayed my perception on things. I was very quick to say that I don't think it's necessarily Celtic's fault that we've left ourselves in this position. I thought we were quite hard done by, in the sense that, you know, we were prepared for Kyogo leaving with Feastgarden being our option, and it just fell through. And then obviously Iheanacho falling through. I think I tried to have a little bit of sympathy on Celtic's part, but now that we're here and now that we're at deadline day, it does make you wonder. There should have been deeper preparations. There should have been more options, and we should have considered worst case scenario, and I don't think that we have. I don't know what's happening in the war room right now with the Celtic board and Brendan Rodgers as they prepare to get back from London, but there needs to be talk of a striker coming in. Adamida has been great the last few games, but you can't rely on one guy to hold fort between now and the end of the season. I think that we do need to sign someone in that area. If it were up to me at this point, I would be throwing the arsenal at signing Feastgarden if it wasn't too much money. But, you know, with hours to go in the deadline, that's probably not going to happen. So, yeah, maybe I was a little bit too laid back in my initial opinions. And now the Celtic board have a lot to answer for in the last few hours of this deadline. But we're going to have to remain patient. Jeffrey SCHLUPP is a good start. Honestly, I'm fine with that. Knowing that Tierney comes in the summer especially, I am very much fine with that as the left back. I think that we all really wanted a striker and a left back so they can do things right. They can make things right between now and the deadline. But the manner of how we've done it, I think for a couple of consecutive years now in this window, isn't good enough for a club of this size operating at Champions League level. That needs to be revised in future years, and Brendan Rodgers has made that abundantly clear. He has a bit of sting behind his comments from his presser yesterday, so they should be opening up their ears, they should be listening, or you're risking losing the boss again. Right, that's this update for now. I will be live on the channel tonight at 10:30 to conclude the transfer window with you all. It'll be a live Q&A session / update session, depending on what news we may get. But between now and then, keep your eyes out on the channel. If there's anything to report, I'll try and be there. I have got 5-a-sides tonight though, so keep that in mind. I'll see you at 10:30 anyway. Catch you.